Hey, welcome to the 40 Finance channel, everybody. We're here on January 29th, and this is a few trading days after the recent DeepSeek flash crash, if you will, that obviously impacted popular stocks like NVIDIA. And for this video, though, today, I'm going to take a different perspective and take a look at, who kind of survived this, who went unscathed during this DeepSeek news. And the point here, I guess, is it kind of aligns with the saying, there's always a bull market somewhere. And if you're thinking about diversification, and if you're thinking about, this potential AI bubble that might be out there, what are some other industries, particularly industries in the US tech sector, that we might see from this recent event are not affected as much by these AI moves and AI headlines? And so it might offer some opportunity to balance out your portfolio. And what better way to test the theory than when we have an event like the DeepSeek event that has brought so many popular stocks down. And as we're going along today, I'll be using Seeking Alpha Premium for all of my data points and research. If you're interested in learning more about this awesome stock research platform, please check out the link in the description. You get a 7-day free trial, as well as some money off in your first year, and potentially support my channel as well, which I appreciate. Now, as a starting point to reference, what exactly was lost in this kind of flash crash, NVIDIA was at the top of the list. They lost approximately 15% or so. And with that, you can't attribute everything to DeepSeek, but you can see here, the news came out after the close of trading on January 24th, and you're at 142. And then when you woke up in the morning on the 27th, you were about 126 or so, something like that. So that gives you an idea of the hit that NVIDIA took. And if we go through this article over here, they sort of highlight the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index, the SOX, if you will, slumped almost 10%. Same with Van Eck Semiconductor. And the overall S&P information technology sector slipped almost 6%. So that gives us a little bit of a baseline to work with. And so what I'm going to do today to kind of surface some names that have actually done well in this same period is I made this little stock screener over here on Seeking Alpha. And how I've broken this up here, we are dealing with United States stocks. So the company has to have its primary office here in the United States. For sector and industry, I chose information technology, communication services, which of course has Google and some other big names in it. And I also did data center REITs just for the heck of it to see if any of those names still popped up. Market cap, we're looking between 5 billion and above, basically. Over 5 billion in market cap, so take out some of the penny stocks and things like that. And then on 5-day performance, okay, I didn't want anyone who's been negative, right? Because we're trying to flip the script and talk about positive stocks. So 5-day performance, above 0%. Same thing on the momentum scale. And when you add all those things together, at least in the United States, it leaves us with about 83 stocks. Now, 83 stocks is way too many to go over in this video. So I thought I'd find, the most intriguing ones first, or pick off the most intriguing ones first. So what I did over here is I sorted all stocks 1-year performance by basically the worst loser. And at the top of the list here, if you've sorted by historical losers over the past year, but have had positive price appreciation over the past several days, well, you have UiPath at the top. And if we take a quick look at them, and we go through the 5 days here, remember that January 24th would have been the sort of DeepSeek announcement. And actually, when the market opened again on the 27th, UiPath was up a little bit. And what I think is interesting about UiPath in the scope of recent news in the stock market is they're actually, the news that's boosted them has been this addition for AI agents that they're adding to their mix. And this relates to a pivot to marketing AI agents that may be able to resuscitate its slowing sales. So even here, as we're talking about like this kind of AI bubble and how that might be impacted by the DeepSeek technology, you have a company like UiPath who has some AI exposure doing relatively well over the past 5 days. All right, going back to this list, you got Unity Software, Mongo Database, who has actually had a pretty bad year. There's their 1-year chart. And if we go back on the past 5 days, again, this is one where you get to the 27th and a lot of the stock market was going down and you actually had a boost for Mongo Database. And one of the things that stands out, when you look at these headlines, you got cybersecurity upgrade from Bank. Again, you have generative AI, where Mongo is being highlighted by Morgan Stanley. So it's kind of interesting when it comes to the DeepSeek part and what chips are being purchased may not exactly matter the chip part to Mongo Database, because at least over the past 5 days, they're up 7%. Okay, scrolling through the rest of the top 10 on this sort anyway, you have Paramount Global, obviously more or less entertainment, so you're not going to have impact there. Akamai, Zscaler, Pinterest is in there, Warner Music Group. And if you scroll further down, you start to look at some of these other names, Snowflake, Match Group, Workday. You've really seen some interest this week in some of the larger companies that have had a tough time over the past 12 months. There was investors who started to, maybe get out of NVIDIA, at least on a small scale, and look at some of the losers for potential opportunities that have nothing at all to do with DeepSeek. All right, now let's do this another way, incorporating some of the recent news. Let's sort last price versus 10-day simple moving average. And here at the top of this particular sort, you have Twilio, you have Cloudflare, GitLab, Freshworks, UiPath again, Mongo Database again, CrowdStrike, Zoom, Asana. But even further down from that, you've got some interesting ones here. HubSpot, Palantir, Snowflake we talked about, Salesforce, Datadog, Okta, Meta Platforms, which is interesting because, a lot of people would loop them into the, AI bubble. And this is a company that has zero Chinese exposure. But if we see what happened with Meta on the 27th, it looks like, they didn't lose that much. They went from $647 a share on Friday to about $634 on January 27th, and it's generally been up from there. Now, they have earnings coming up, so it'll be interesting to hear if they have any commentary. But Meta might have been one that the average person, threw in a bubble with the DeepSeek losers, since they are also on their own AI experiments, but that hasn't been the case right now. Another stock with an interesting price move, although this is ASML, they are not a United States company. I believe they're in the Netherlands. And you see their chart off to the side. So they got sucked in to the DeepSeek flash crash, going from 730 to 678. But then they turned around and had a great earnings report. And interestingly enough, with ASML, they do sell to China. And if we scroll down, China accounted for 27% of total net system sales, behind the US with 28%. So this is sort of interesting if you want to get into an AI race based on the fundamentals of producing chips. With ASML, you would arguably have the sort of best of both worlds, with both China and the United States taking up 28-ish% of this company's sales. Now, I mentioned some of the cybersecurity stocks earlier, and I think it's a very interesting segment right now. And you can see here we've got CrowdStrike. This is a 5-day chart. They're only up, give or take 4%. But when you think about the 24th and how that parlayed into the opening of trading on the 27th, they really didn't lose much at all. So CrowdStrike doesn't seem to be affected too much by this DeepSeek. And on the same token, Palo Alto networks, when you're talking cybersecurity, relatively unfazed. In fact, they went up here a little bit on the 28th. Zscaler here in the same boat. In fact, on the 28th, they had a huge run up from 190 to 200. So they've got some momentum right now. And Palantir, which, cybersecurity in a different way. And with Palantir, everyone's looking for the headline that brings them back down to earth, so to speak. And it does not look like DeepSeek is going to be that thing. They took it on the chin very slightly, going from 79 to roughly 74. But now we're right back up to 78.51. So they are net down 2.5% over the past 5 days, but certainly nothing compared to what we saw with NVIDIA. And at least with Palantir, throwing their valuation out the window, you have to figure that this is a company working with, governments and high-end clients. So that's not a place where I would personally see, an open source DeepSeek having any sort of impact, because when you're into corporations and you're into secrets and stuff like that, you have to be very careful who your data partners are. All right, so there's several names for you that have done, relatively well, considering this DeepSeek flash crash has dragged NVIDIA down 15% and frankly dragged the S&P 500 down a good 5%. We've got a lot of stuff going on in the market right now. You're starting to see the effects of political policies and, concerns about any kind of bubbles. And with that, I think it's always important whenever you see a big move down to look at what went up right next to it and try to look for the patterns and see, if you're thinking about diversifying or balancing your portfolio a little more, maybe you're NVIDIA heavy. It's a great time to do that with the data that we just got this week. See who's actually doing well while some of these big dogs are struggling. Hey, don't forget to check out that Seeking Alpha special offer before you go. Potentially support my channel as well. I hope everybody's doing good. We'll see you on the next video.